Hi, welcome to Ms. Richardson's U.S. History 5-Minute Lectures. This information will be U.S. Notes 6.5, Disillusioned Youth of the 80s and 90s. It includes information that aligns with the first section on your Unit 6 study guide. Now remember, you control the lecture. Use your study guide to figure out what's important, write notes on those things down, pause if you need to, rewind if you need to get what's important, and make sure that you ask questions in class if you need. Let's go ahead and get started. In the last set of notes, I mentioned that many youth during the time period became disillusioned. There were different groups and outlets for this during the time, and today I want to talk a little bit about some of those. In the 70s and 80s, in order to cut government spending, several government-funded programs were cut or underfunded. Many of these included programs that traditionally helped the poor. This caused many youth to question the government. Their parents had lived through the scandals of the 60s and the 70s, like Watergate, Vietnam, all of that. And now, in the 80s and 90s, there were more scandals. Iran-Contra, Clinton, and his impeachment, all kinds of stuff that we'll be talking about in our next section. More technology actually made it harder to hide these secrets now, so more and more scandals became discovered and as more people found out about them. So these scandals, coupled with poverty and racial tension, led many young people in the 80s to begin to question not only the government, but society as well. They searched for their own path and way of doing things. In the 1980s, many of these disillusioned youth were minorities. The government had cut spending on the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, or the EEOC, that was created by the Civil Rights Act, remember, and other groups that assisted minorities in moving to higher social classes. Also, those young minorities who were able to get into college or good jobs faced prejudice due to affirmative action. Others often thought the only reason they were able to gain these positions was because they got preferential treatment, and that meant that they viewed them very harshly. This created even more societal tension and disillusionment regarding the American opportunity and American dream. So this disillusionment can be seen in the popular music of the time period. Many young African Americans were fans of hip-hop music, and much of that music portrayed their lives in inner cities. Songs like The Message by Grandmaster Flash and Fight the Power by Public Enemy spoke to the struggles of poverty, crime, drugs, and minorities in America. These songs appealed not just to poor African Americans, but all young Americans who felt disillusioned and not a part of society. These songs included an element of social change. There are many problems in society, problems that need faced and changed. And that created a more socially conscious youth movement in the 1990s. While much of the middle class in the 80s had focused more on money and greed, this changed in the 90s. Many young Americans in the 1990s saw the plight of the inner city youth and identified with it. So although their struggles were somewhat different, the ideas of drug use, violence, and the inability to move forward to a better life were shared concerns between the two groups. Grunge music identified this discontent with how life was and the feelings of young people who wanted change. Songs like Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana and Jeremy by Pearl Jam dealt with the issues like disillusionment, feelings of not belonging, and even teen suicide. So some very heavy ideas in the music during the time period. While different groups led these movements, music during the 80s and 90s reveals the frame of mind of many of the youth of the time period and what they wanted from life. And that is the end of Note 6.5. Hopefully you learned something, and I'll see you in class with any questions.